If you think you missed the window to homeschool your kids because they are in middle school or in high school, I'm here to tell you that it's just not true. That's just outside influences, noise, and distraction. I started in high school, and it was the best decision we ever made. But first, let's address the lie that you are not qualified to teach your own children. All right, so here's the concept. I just want you to think about this. All parents are teachers. You taught your kids how to walk. You taught your kids how to talk. Those are the most difficult skills that you can teach a person, a human being. Those are the two most complex human skills that you can actually teach a human being. And you did both. We have been led to believe that we must outsource everything, our food, our health, now our children's minds, their education, and it's not working out that well. You are your child's first and best teacher. You did not need a degree to teach them their first word or how to take their first steps. And you don't need a permission slip from the state to teach them how to think. You know your child the best. You know what works and what doesn't work. And the other thing I want to tell you, it does not take 7 hours a day sitting at a desk to learn basic critical thinking skills. How to read, how to write, how to do basic arithmetic. I asked my mom just the other day, Mom, how did you learn how to sew? My mom's been sewing for over 50 years since she was a child. And she said, my mother taught me how to sew. My mother wanted to learn how to sew. She was the only one of her sisters that wanted to. There were 3 sisters, and my mom was the only one that was interested in learning how to sew. So my grandmother taught her how to sew. Here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. The bar is really low, like shockingly low. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it because I think a lot of you are sitting at home convinced that the school down the road is doing something magical, and they're just not. That the school down the road is doing something that you couldn't possibly replicate at your kitchen table. And you know what? That's just not true. Look at the numbers. Look at the actual literacy rate coming out of these schools. Look at how many kids are graduating high school reading at a 6th grade level. Look at how many can't do basic math without a calculator. This isn't a secret. This is in the news every single week. And when you tell me, oh, I could never homeschool because I'm not qualified, I want to gently push back on that. Because here's what qualified actually looks like in 2026. It looks like a classroom of 28 kids, one teacher who is burnt out, a curriculum that is designed by a committee, and a kid who needs help with phonics, but there's just no time. That is the bar. That is what you are competing with. And I promise you, you can clear it if you sit down with your kid for 20 minutes a day. Just start at 20 minutes. That's probably all you need completely. Read a real book together. You can work through one of these books. You can get this. This is a McGuffey reader. You can read through one of these stories. You can do a little math like arithmetic. You can talk about what you are reading. You are already doing more than what is happening in a lot of the classrooms. You're already winning. I know you're thinking, but I'm not a teacher. I don't have a degree. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither did most of the women, including me, who taught their kids out of one-room schoolhouses 150 years ago. I was terrified when we first started doing homeschool, like, I'm going to screw them up. What are they going to get in biology and pre-algebra? And I tried to replicate school at home, and it simply isn't like that. Think about some of the skills that you have learned. It wasn't probably from rote memorization and scantrons. Do they still do scantrons? 150 years ago, kids were learning how to read out of these books, and those kids could read Shakespeare by the time they were 12. This isn't about being a super mom. It's not about Pinterest schedules, color-coded binders, the best curriculum. It's about being present, showing up 20 minutes a day with a book and a kid that you know, and that kid knows that you care about them. That's it. That's the whole secret. The bar is low, and you are already going to be able to scale it very quickly, very easily. It really is much simpler than we've been led to believe. All right, now I want to talk about money, because this is the point where people get hung up. There's an old saying, with the shekels come the shackles. Let me just explain what it means, because it's everything. It means anytime somebody hands you something for free, there's a string attached, or maybe 2, or maybe a whole tangle of them. You just don't see the strings until you try to walk away. Now, we all know there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? My high school econ teacher taught us that, and that's one of the only things I remember. Somehow when it comes to school, though, we kind of forget. We say, oh, public school is free, and it's not. You're paying for it in taxes, sure, but that's not the part I'm talking about. You're paying for it in control. Because when you accept the free education, you accept their curriculum, you accept their timing, you accept their values, you accept what they think is important and what they decide can be skipped. You accept the books they pick and the books they pull off the shelf. You accept the schedule, the testing, the standards, the lunch menu, all of it. And listen, that might be fine for your family. I'm not here to tell you what to do. It's none of my business. But you need to know that's the trade. The shekels come with the shackles every single time. Now here's the beautiful part. When you opt out, you get the choice back. You get to curate your own philosophy. You get to decide. Maybe that means pulling out one of these McGuffey readers, from the 1800s. Because phonics actually worked back then, it still does, still works now. Maybe it means you pick a modern science kit because your kid is obsessed with rocks and you want to lean into that. You get to curate that you want to learn together. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's something I've never heard of. The point of it is you get to pick. You get to decide based on your family, based on your beliefs, based on what your kid actually wants and needs. Not what a committee in some state capital decided several years ago. That's the freedom part. And you don't get the freedom without giving up the free. You really just can't have both. So choose carefully. Okay, so let's talk about the day-to-day, because this is where most people get scared off. You don't have to recreate school at home. Hear me when I say this. Please hear me on this. You do not have to wake up at 7 a.m., ring a bell, sit your kids down at the little desks, and march them through 8 subjects before the lunch buzzer. That would be terrible. That's a factory schedule. It was designed for a factory. And honestly, no, it really was. It doesn't even work that well inside the factory. What you need is a rhythm, not a routine. There's a difference. So a routine is rigid. You stop learning when the bell goes off. That's ridiculous. That's not real life. A rhythm is much more reasonable. It flows with your life. So some days you're going to do math first thing in the morning because everybody's sharp. Some days you're going to read on the couch in your pajamas until 10 a.m. because somebody had a rough night. Some days you'll do school in the car on the way to the dentist. That counts. It all counts. Think about your own life. Think about the conversations that you had with your parents or your grandparents and what you learned. You know how I always, if you are familiar with me from my carnivore diet channel, I always talk about lazy carnivore. It's the same idea here. So lazy homeschooling. It's not lazy like you're not doing the work. It's lazy like you're not making it harder than it needs to be. You're keeping it simple. You're not turning a beautiful thing into a chore. And here is the spiritual piece for me. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men." That includes math. That includes history. It includes the messy days when your kid is crying over fractions, percentages, decimals, and you're crying over your coffee. I've been there. You work heartily, not perfectly. Heartily. The rhythm is yours to set. It's your family. It's your life. It's your pace. That's the whole point of taking it back. So here's what I want you to take away from this whole conversation. It's not too late. I mean it. I want you to hear me say this. It's not too late. If you've got a kid in 8th grade, 9th grade, or 10th grade, I had an 8th grader and a 10th grader. If you are sitting there feeling like, well, the ship has sailed, what's the point now? The ship has not sailed. We started homeschooling in high school, and we figured it out. It was 6 months of decompressing, figuring it out, getting jobs. Honestly, we're still going through the motions. One kid is at community college. The other, we're still figuring it out. The kids are thriving. You can do this too. You don't need a teaching degree. You don't need a Pinterest schedule. You don't need a perfect curriculum. You need 20 minutes a day, a book, and the willingness to show up. That's it. That's the whole thing. The bar is low. The system is broken. The shekels come with shackles, and the rhythm is yours to set. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You are not too late. You are not unqualified. You are not behind. You are exactly the parent your kid needs, because nobody on this earth loves your kid the way you do. And that love is the curriculum that actually matters. Whew. So go ahead and subscribe if you found value in this video. I really appreciate it. Give it a like, a thumbs up, do all the things. Drop me a comment though. I really love the comments. Share this video. It's kind of tough getting a new channel started, but I think this is so important. Tell me where you are in the comments. Where are you in your homeschool journey? Are you thinking about it? Are you scared? Are you starting? Are you just starting? Have you been doing it for years? I would love to hear it. I read every single comment, of course, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.